Only 3 years after being formed from the ashes of the York Wasps, and the York City Knights are champions of National League 2. And we're here to celebrate that achievement with edition 8 of Inside the Knights. Never say that the Knights don't win in style, as for the umpteenth time this season, they came back from an impossible situation to win another crucial game. This time 22-0 down at Hunslet to come back to win 24 points to 22. The result meant that the Knights had clinched the title and sparked wild scenes of celebration both on and off the field. To get his thoughts on another heart-pounding victory is this season's leading point scorer for the Knights, Paul Thorman. Paul Thorman joined the club along with his brother Neil for the 2005 season from North East side Gateshead Thunder. As the man with the main responsibility for goal kicking, Paul has had to cope with a lot of pressure situations this season. Situations he has dealt with well, bringing the team 143 points this season to date. So Paul, looking back at that game against Hunslet, it was an amazing afternoon. Can you tell us your thoughts about the game?
First off, perhaps you wouldn't want to hear my thoughts, as we were all talking about it at half time. But yeah, it was a bit of a downer the first half. But we, we've been in those sort of situations before, and we knew we'd get our heads right at half time and maybe come out and take it in the second half. We've never written ourselves off before, so we've come back from some pretty tough deficits before, so we always back ourselves. But it was a pretty special afternoon, yeah.
So 22-0 down, it's quite a deficit to come back from. We never seem to do it the easy way.
No, well, I like to keep the fans on the edge of their seats, eh? No, it's as I said previously, 22-0. It's a pretty hefty scoreline, but we've come back from worse. But we'd rather not start off at 22-0 down, which is something we're going to try and get right over these last two games of the season. It always seems to be the start that lets us down, but hopefully we'll get that right over the next couple of weeks and push on for next season too.
So when we're clawing back from deficits like that, obviously you're the man that has to add the extra points. It must put you under a lot of extra pressure.
Oh, it's something that I enjoy though. It's a responsibility that I enjoy. Maybe some people see it as pressure, but I've always enjoyed that little bit of extra pressure. I'm the sole person that is responsible for taking those extra 2 points, and yeah, I always back myself. But I've come a couple of times this season, but yeah, that's life.
So thinking about this season, as you mentioned, how do you think you've done this season?
I've been relatively pleased with my form. I don't think I've been as near as I could have been to my top form that I have been in previous seasons. But it's a brand new environment for me this season. Coming in with a whole new coaching setup, a new set of lads. I've been used to the same old scene for the past 4 or 5 seasons up at Gateshead, but I backed myself. I challenged myself at the start of the season, and I'm relatively pleased with the outcome. Obviously, going from basement boys to premiers, it's a pretty big difference, but it's something I've definitely enjoyed this season.
Because that was going to be my next question. Is obviously you joined from Gateshead. It's a gamble because obviously as far as I know, you're still commuting, so it's a big commitment. Yeah. And you could have gone to Workington as well, as I understand. So
it's even bigger commute though.
Yeah. So do you think you made the right decision?
Most definitely. Well, it's a pretty straightforward question for me to answer. That we've won the league, and I haven't sort of disappointed myself at all with the decision that I've made. So the answer will be yes.
So you come from a well-known rugby family, and we've seen your brother Neil in a night shirt this season. People say that rugby in the North East would never take off, so how did you get into the sport?
I think it was about 1989, I think it was, that I first picked up a ball. It was just pretty much, I followed my bigger brother Chris down. There was a local rugby league side starting up in the area, and we played most of the sports, soccer, as everyone tries it up there, cricket, tennis. I'd done everything but rugby, so I'd to be honest, I didn't know the difference between rugby union or league, and league was the one that I first stepped into. So it's never been any different for me. So it's rugby league's always been the first choice.
So yourself and Neil seem to come as a pair, and earlier in the season you played against him when he was obviously back at Gateshead. Was that a bit strange, and have you played against him before?
That was the first time I played against him. I've obviously played with him a fair bit, and we both played against my brother back in 2001. So it was, I mean, I've been used to playing against my brother previously, but not in this sort of competitive environment. So it was a bit strange having me little bro on the other side.
And of course you won the game with your drop goal, and so we've got promotion now. What kind of impact do you think this club and the team can make on National League One?
I think probably over the past few seasons, with Keighley and Barrow going up and straight down, I think the York club are probably the best equipped club to go up and stay up. Obviously everyone knows about the community work that they do, and you know there's plenty of financial backing, so we need to strengthen well in the off season, and obviously we've got the coaching staff here now, so I think we can really make an impact on National League One.
So you come from Gateshead, which is a good club, but unfortunately it's not very well supported. Bit of a contrast to the Knights with the crowds we've been getting this season. What do you think to the level of support you've received from the crowd, and you know, has it spurred you on, and do you think it's played a part in winning the league?
Absolutely. It's to take what we took to Hunslet and outnumber them by 10, 15, like 10-fold, 15-fold. It was absolutely immense to come off that pitch. It was the best feeling I've ever had in a rugby league match, and I know 90% of the boys feel exactly the same. You know, it's some of us might not ever win a championship ever again, and the fans made it extra special that day. You know, coming back home into York, it was, you know, they're still milling about, seeing them out on the town, pats on the back and everything. It's absolutely immense, and I don't think they understand how much it does mean to the players, but it means a hell of a lot.
Well, you've all done brilliantly. Congratulations on winning the title, and thanks for your time tonight.
No problem, thank you.
Thanks to Paul, and what an amazing achievement it's been for the lads to become champions this season in a very tough competition. Now forgive me if I use the word champions again, but now we are the champions, this should hopefully have a very positive effect on the Knights' commercial activities. And the other day I came to speak to the Knights' commercial manager, Peter Salter, to find out what being the champions will mean for the club. As commercial manager, it's Peter Salter's job to bring in money to the club from local businesses and other sponsors. With the level of interest in the Knights and the City of York going through the roof, it will be a busy close season for Peter and all the commercial staff at the club. So Peter, we spoke last season about the commercial side of the club's work. Could you give us a quick progress report as to what's happened this season?
Yeah, well, I mean, basically I've sort of joined the club more on a sort of a regular basis now. I do 3 days a week for the club plus match days. So hopefully the club will, at the end of the day, see the results of that. We've obviously come a long way on the pitch. That helps enormously with results going the right way. It's much easier to sort of talk to people. We've had full houses, sort of most games, so it's going very well.
Once again, for third year in a row, crowds have increased, so the general public is back in the club. Are the local business community backing the club in the same way?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you look around the ground today, there's more boards, there's more advertising boards, they're in far more sort of positions. We're actually going further and further around each side. Sort of the last few weeks I've sold a lot more as well, so yeah, hopefully by the end of sort of the close season we'll have almost all the way around, which just shows the level of support for the club. The hospitality suites we didn't have a problem with selling. We had the odd one or two various weekends, but majority of them are sold out right the way through, so not a problem at all.
One thing that intrigues me is why a local business would want to get involved by giving their money to a local rugby league club. What do you think the answer to that question is?
I think there's two answers really. One, the first answer, and the existing sort of sponsors that we've had for the last sort of 2-3 seasons, they're passionate about the Knights. They'll give money or they'll sponsor the club to no matter what, point. What I've tried to do this season is actually get different things in, and we've got various companies involved, Next Generation, MSF Peugeot, people like that, who are actually doing something for the club. They're not necessarily putting money into the club, but they're actually supplying Jason with a car, or letting the lads train free of charge. So there's lots of things like that we can actually do, and that just shows the level of support around the city for the club.
What does a sponsor get in return? Because obviously they give of their money or their support, as you've mentioned. What do the Knights give back?
Fantastic rugby. We try to give as much as possible. I mean, they're very welcome here on a match day. There's the evening press obviously cover the game. You cover the matches. There's all sorts of opportunities that companies do benefit from. Program advertising. It all raises the profile of a particular company, and it all depends what that company wants from it.
And how do you rate the facilities down here at Huntington Stadium for sponsors?
Very good. They're a lot different from what I've worked with before. We've got sort of 8 boxes here that are for sale on a match by match basis. We've actually sold 3 of them for next season already for the whole season. We've got 5 left to sell. Sort of basically, they sort of. There's a massive bar here. People can come in and meet. They can actually, instead of having canned beer and so on, they've got a good sort of bar to actually get, mingle, and they meet other sponsors as well. So it's good facilities.
There's already talk about a new stadium and the possibility of the Knights moving into a new stadium. So it sounds to me that we wouldn't necessarily benefit that much because the facilities here are quite good.
I would probably disagree with that, purely and simply because we're not allowed to do. We're tied. We can't do anything here. Sport these days, regardless of whether it's rugby league, football, cricket, whatever, is all about 7 days, and a new stadium would benefit both. If we share with the football club, which I think is the intention, would benefit both the football club and the rugby club. To the 7 days a week, we could do conferences, banqueting, dependent on the size and the structure of the stadium. But there's all sorts of avenues that would open. We can't use the stadium here for evenings unless we actually sort of book it in advance. We can't organise our own events. It's very difficult. We don't get a take on the bar or anything, so it's very difficult. So with a new stadium, we could actually dictate what goes on.
Season tickets are already on sale to supporters, and I'm sure there'll be a great uptake for that with National League 1 next season. How do people go about getting sponsorship, and what's the response been since that Hunslet game, the championship?
Well, season tickets definitely. They're doing very well at the moment. I haven't got an actual figure, but I'm sure we've sold. We're on sort of level, with what we want, what we expect. There's very good prices this year, and there's prices have been frozen as well. So the level of support and sponsorship since the Hunslet game really has been astounding. I mean, everybody that I've phoned you're not necessarily taken up. We've sent out lots of letters to renew and to place sort of pledges for next year, but it's just been amazing. The level of response, and it's sold out sort of for this Sunday again. For hospitality, it'd be a good afternoon. And next season, hospitality's already sort of going very well. So if anybody's out there thinking about it, think quickly, because they are going very quickly.
And finally, if I can ask you about yourself, we won the league. What did it mean to you to win the league, and also what did it mean to you as commercial manager for us to get promotion?
It's been with the level of success on the playing field. It's been a good season for that. For the hospitality suites have been full up, and people obviously want to come along and see us. The programme ads we've sold a lot of. We've got a good programme. Everything looks good on sort of around about the ground. With the winning the championship and so on, it just opened up all sorts of doors. We've obviously got to increase turnover for next year. We want to attract better players. Not necessarily nothing wrong with these players, but to actually stay in Division 1 or League 1, we've got to attract better players. So therefore, we need more income to offer better wages. And it's a bit of a vicious circle. But the challenge is there. We'll sort of look up to it, and we'll take up the gauntlet. So we'll do well.
Well, I hope we do. It's good to see the Knights going from strength to strength. Thanks for talking to us, and we'll, I'm sure, speak to you again next season.
Yeah, thank you very much. Cheers. Look forward to it.
Interesting stuff. And with an army of local businesses behind them, who's to say the Knights can't mount another successful promotion campaign next season? That's That's all for part 1. Join us in part 2 for all the highlights from that mind-boggling afternoon at South Leeds Stadium.
The City Council and Hunslet hopes that racist behaviour and foul language is not tolerated here. Students are empowered to eject fans guilty of such behaviour. 17 years of throws is just returned for York City Knights.
Come on then, Yusuf. Keep it. Come on, battle. Come on! Hey, well, it's still there.
Let's take our penultimate look at all the facts and figures for the 2005 season in Statzone. In round 15 of the LHF Health Plan National League 2, the Knights were victorious against London Scholars as expected. However, despite scoring 60 points, including a quartet of tries from Peter Fox, the game saw the team far from their best for frustrating periods in the game. It was a crucial win, however, as title rivals Dewsbury Rams and Workington Town both collected 2 points, against Keighley Cougars and Sheffield Eagles respectively, thus denying the Knights the title for another week. There were also wins for Hunslet Hawks ahead of their game against the Knights, and Gateshead Thunder climbed back into playoff contention with a crushing win over Swinton Lions, 58 points to 10. Round 16 is the one that will go down in history, as the Knights clinched the championship with a heroic victory over a bruising Hunslet side at South Leeds Stadium. And I hope you enjoyed watching that one again on our programme. And with Dewsbury and Workington both winning again, the win was a mathematic necessity for the York City Knights to make sure of the title. And while the Knights celebrated and the Rams and Town cried into their beer, there were celebrations at Gateshead, whose win against the Sheffield Eagles put them in pole position for the last playoff spot, the score 41-18. In the round's other game, the Lions demolished the Cougars 46-0. Only one fixture took place on the 29th of August because of the Challenge Cup final being played that weekend in Cardiff, and that was a rearranged game from match day 11 that saw the Sheffield Eagles keep their playoff hopes alive by beating London Scholars. However, it was still a great weekend for York, with ex-York star Danny Brough kicking the winning points for Hull FC in the Cup final, and last season's Knights coach Richard Agar, now assistant to John Keir, having a major part to play in the triumph. Round 17 saw the Knights presented with the National League 2 trophy after the game against Workington at Huntington Stadium. A crowd of 2,177 turning up to witness the post-match celebrations. Unfortunately, the game on the day itself ended in disappointment, with the Knights relinquishing an 18-4 advantage to lose the game by 18 points to 20. Despite 2 tries from captain Chris Levy and 1 from John Smith, the result completed a league double for Workington over the Knights. However, one thing to remember is that the Knights are up and Town are in the playoffs, and everyone knows what can happen even to the best side in the knockout competition. So there's a long way to go for Workington to join York in NL1. Around the other grounds, Sheffield's season looks like it will end in disappointment after a home defeat by Swinton, and the Eagles' rivals for the last playoff place, Thunder, won away in London. And Hunslet sounded a warning to their playoff rivals with a win at Cougar Park. The top half of the league table is more or less settled, as the Knights are the champions, leaving Dewsbury and Workington to fight over the scraps for second place. Swinton and Hunslet are both assured of a playoff place, with neither expected to go all the way to the final. And so, as the season draws to a close, the focus now moves on to the knockout competition. And this year, the Knights are not involved. Looking at the bottom half, there are 2 issues left here. The first is who will get that final playoff berth, with Gateshead having a clear advantage at the moment. And who will get the wooden spoon, with London currently in last place level on points with the Blackpool Panthers. As far as the playoff issue is concerned, Sheffield will need a win in their last home match of the season to stand any chance, and hope that Gateshead lose. Unfortunately for the Eagles, their last game is against the best team in the league, the champion Knights. A glance at this season's current table of leading try scorers sees Peter Fox with 25 tries, a new club record, and Dan Potter moves on to 16. Neil Law has 12 for the season, and after his 2 scores against Workington in round 17, Chris Levy now has 11. Then it's Matt Blameyer with 10. And the total points for the Knights during the league season, 647, comfortably the highest in the division. Finally, let's take a look at the forthcoming fixtures, and as the season draws to a close, there's only one match left. The matchday 18 game away at Don Valley Stadium against playoff chasing Sheffield Eagles. The game kicks off at 8 PM and is a Friday night match. This will be Mick Cook's first time back at his old club in the capacity of head coach, and I'm sure he'll be determined not to let his former side get the better of the Knights. It should be another enjoyable evening, and sadly the last game of what has been a truly wonderful season. We're here today for the last home game of the season against Workington Town, and after the match the Knights are going to be presented with the NL2 trophy. And while there's lots of happiness around today, there is a slight twinge of sadness for 2 players who will be playing their last ever home game in a Knights shirt this afternoon, Mick Ramsden and Lee Jackson. And last Thursday I went to speak to Lee Jackson and get some words from the great man himself. Lee Jackson retires at the end of this season, pulling down the curtain on an illustrious career. And if it's there to be achieved in rugby league, Jacko has achieved it. 17 Great Britain caps, a Challenge Cup winners medal, an NRL Grand Final medal, World Player of the Year, and even the record for the fastest try ever scored. Lee Jackson has been the ultimate pro, and what better way to go out with yet another medal to add to his collection. So Lee, the next game could be, well, is your last game in a Knights shirt at Huntington Stadium. Is it sunk in that it'll be your last game?
It has in a way, yeah. It's been a fantastic 3 years. I've done what I've set to do, and I just wish all the best for the boys in the first division.
I've heard you say that the last 3 years have been the best 3 years of your career, and obviously you've had a hell of a career. Would you stand by that?
Of course I would, yeah. No, all the teams I've played for, I've enjoyed it, and York is no exception. No, like I say, it's been fantastic 3 years. You know, straight from Paul, to Richard Edgar, now to Mick Cook.
So you decided to stay on at the end of last season. It was a very good decision.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think I couldn't finish on the way I did. Especially getting beat in the final. So thank Mick Cook for to giving me that year.
So we've won the league now. How does that rank in all the your international caps and your medals? How does that rank amongst all those?
Of course, it's at the top. It's a cup at the end of the day, and that's what we play for. And it's one of my memories I'll be very fond of.
So at the beginning of the season, how confident were you that we could achieve what we've achieved?
I wish I put a bet on, to be quite honest. We was quite confident that we'd win the league, but things have panned out, and we have done.
So you've had an amazing career. What memories will you most treasure in rugby league?
I think I'd just play in rugby league, and that's what I enjoy. I've been around the world, and I've represented my country, and it's just a kind of a buzz that every kid should want to do.
So think about your relationship with the fans. You're very well loved here, and you've had a great 3 years with the fans. How much have they made it such an enjoyable experience to play for York?
Not just for York, but for all the clubs I've played for. It's the fans are very important. Obviously they pay your wages at the end of the day, but they give you support when you need it. And with the crowd that we've had the last 3 years, they've been fantastic. Obviously getting the most crowds in first and the second division is not something to be proud of.
And what will you do now?
I don't know at the moment. I'm hopefully looking for a job. I'm looking for one, like I say, but yeah, that's about it.
So do you fancy getting into coaching?
I don't know yet at the moment, but I'm hopefully trying to get into coaching at schools if I can, and I'm trying to work something up back in Hull. But I want to stay in rugby league somewhere or something in that category.
So finally, thinking about those fans, obviously you're very well loved here. What message would you have to the fans?
Just thank you for the 3 years that I've had. Keep supporting the Knights, because the Knights do need you.
Brilliant, we've made a massive contribution. It's been great to watch you play, and thanks for speaking to us.
That's okay, mate. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
The last words of a legend, Lee Jackson. What a great servant to this club, and from us, all the best to him and his family for his retirement. Well, the first part of the dream has come true. The Knights have lifted the cup and are the 2005 LHF Health Plan National League 2 champions. That's all from us here at Huntington Stadium. Join us next time. Bye-bye.